Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Virgo channel. Good morning. It's morning here in St. Augustine, Florida. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've already been up 2 hours. The time goes by so fast in the morning. So, for those of you that are new to my channel, my name is Laura, and I'm going to do a general message for you. Know that energy is fluid, roles could be reversed. Just interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also, know on this channel and all my channels, I like to dive deep within the reading. So, I look at everything, but we take a lot of time to look at the spiritual blockages, the shadows, see how they play it as karmic themes, help you understand why you're attracting that person into your life and what you can do to shape shift the energy. If there's many different realities that play out at one time, why would you choose to live a reality that keeps you stuck in a place of pain or resentment? You wouldn't. Which brings us to the topic that I wanted to talk about today. And that is past life karmic mates. And when I think of past life karmic mates, the phrase that comes to term is that there's a real fine line between love and hate. And the reason why that is because it draws from deep primal needs, the need for connection, safety, and meaning. So when those needs are threatened, emotions really can flip really fast. Now, here are a few quick ideas that the psych tends to mirror. I just wanted to share this before we jump in to the oracle spread as a little bit of a daily dose of spiritual nutrition, okay? Maybe it'll help you stop ruminating because that's the problem when we're connected to a past life karmic mate. They trigger us and they keep us stuck in a mindset. And really, it's the thoughts that you think and the emotions that you have that manifest. So the person really doesn't have to do anything except for their toxic behavior, which usually is they're not giving you attention. They're deliberately trying to make you jealous. They're deliberately trying to hurt you. And you're saying, why would I be connected to a person that does that? Right. So we have to understand why first. And really, it's shared roots, divergent outcomes. Love often grows from vulnerability and closeness, while betrayal and unmet needs create fear and defensiveness, obviously. So the closer that we are, the more fragile and that we actually become, especially a person that's wounded. And we have to remember that. So, and that's where we always say, hurt people, and a person can only love you from their level of consciousness and how much they love themselves, right? We can't expect them to love us more. We tend to think so because a lot of times when we're in a relationship, we overgive. And it's because of the same reason, believe it or not, the same wound. You just might have learned to give where the other person learned to survive a different way. It's all surviving mechanisms from the attachment style. So again, we become fragile. So attention cycles, when we invest small, slight, like tiny little things, when we invest in someone and they do something and it doesn't need to be that big, it feels so amplified when we have a wound. So understand the universe is bringing you someone to awaken a already wound that is inside of you. You're just not awake to it. So that's why, number one, it happens. But the same energy that fuels, your giving can actually fuel, your nurturing. You're just utilizing your energy different. So what happens is that the same energy that fuels care really fuels resentment, and resentment from expectations that aren't met or honored. And we need to definitely look at that for part of the healing. And we're going to look at that within the cards. And internal maps of worth, like understanding that if you equate love with safety or belonging, which a lot of us do, anything that threatens those feelings really triggers defensiveness and anger, which can look like hate at that moment. So unspoken wounds, hidden hurts from past experiences tend to leak into present experiences, turning ordinary, like just minor, like friction into like harsher wounds that are felt. So understand the universe is always bringing you what you need anyway to help you heal, because healing your shadows requires integration, because you want to stop ruminating. At the end of the day, being connected to someone that triggers you, and that's what it feels like. You want to, after a while, if you stubbed your toe in the same damn place every single day on a coffee table, let's just say, eventually you would take that coffee table and you'd smash it into a million pieces, because your toe would be so raw from being hurt. Well, that's what an emotional wound feels like. It's normal. It's pent up energy that's held in the body as stress, but it's created from the mind. And the more that you ruminate, the more that energy builds a momentum. That's why we say when you channel that energy, that fire energy, which is anger, well, shit, we move mountains. You can make shit happen. So you may be like, I'm trying to manifest something and I have this fucktoid in my life. And Spirit saying, channel the energy properly. And that's externally. Again, because the person's keeping you stuck, ruminating in your head, the key is to become grounded. The key is to be in the moment, to be in the now. And so you have to have a passion. If that person represents passion, which by the way is another form of fire, and so again, that expectation when they don't come through, this is what creates all that anger and tension. You have to channel that energy. You want to get the person's attention? You want to get that person's attention? You don't get mad at that person. You channel all that anger into like doing something that's going to change you. Because if the person really has feelings, well, you're sending them a message without saying a word, number one. And that word is, if there were words, you would be telling this person, I don't care. I have a life. I don't need you. If I chose you to be in my life, that was one thing, but I don't need you. You're an option. It's like, because they're making you feel like an option. Many times, past life karmic mates, that's the issue. Many times, whether the person means to, because emotionally they're not available, and they feel justified, or they're not even conscious of it. A lot of times they're not even conscious of it. So it's to understand that we can manifest with that energy, and really that's what you have to do to change that whole dynamic of a relationship, because it allows you to see yourself differently. When you see yourself differently, other people see you differently, and then the way that they treat you is differently, opposed to trying to have a conversation with a person that doesn't even want to have a conversation. They know what the fuck they're doing. A lot of times, karmic mates too. They'll pretend that they don't, and maybe in the beginning they don't, but then eventually when you tell them for the 18th time, they do. It's just, I'm comfortable now. So, but you're not. And that's how you're out of alignment. And that's why when a person keeps you out of alignment with your true self, your higher self, you get fucking angry, because God's inside of you as a gift of the Holy Spirit. So when you're angry at yourself, you're actually angry at God. That's why God says, me first. I'm a jealous God. That's through you first. This way you set boundaries. Otherwise, you're out of alignment with the law of the universe, because God is only the energy of unconditional love. We wouldn't know what that is. It's a consciousness. And it's, again, all those energies derived from unconditional love. So again, karmic mates throw us out of that energy. And then we begin to form habits and behaviorisms. And anxiety is one of them. Hypervigilance is another one, which fucks up your life. So let's see. But understand you can heal them. Spirit's like, it'll fuck up your life and you become very psychic, but you condition your nervous system. So, is being with a narcissist will suppress your immune system, because you're constantly in fight, flight, freeze, where all the person is doing is continually manipulating you, making you question what you believe about yourself. So it's dangerous, is what I'm getting at. It's like people tend to downplay it, but it's like, this is what breast cancer is manifested from. My father had cancer 8 times from living with a narcissist. It's a real thing. You're only a you're only a human being because you're a spiritual being. Just spiritual being having human experiences. Eventually you'll go back to spirit. It's like we're here to learn. It's a school. And unfortunately, sickness and disease is like our lessons when people find themselves in that space. And over time, if you're angry and you're stopping your life, that's what happens. Because again, the air that we breathe is prana, it's chi, it's spirit, it's what gives us life. It's God. And we can channel that energy into anything we want. And when Spirit's saying you're going to choose to do that, to waste. So we don't downplay here, but we can shapeshift the energy and command that person, if they really truly love you, they're going to rise to the occasion. God says, I'm the strongest energy that there is. We tend to associate past life karmic mate with, oh, I'm going to get the fucked because that they're going to do something harsh. And Spirit says, God, if you're smart, there's many different realities. Why are you or mine or going over there like that? But you're not strong. They bring out your weakness. Spirit saying it's all about healing. It's all about being able to see the different perception and to be able to step into that perception, because Spirit's saying you don't see yourself the way that I made you. Again, because you're me in physical form, which is unconditional love. And that's this spiritual sovereignty that you actually have is to be able to create the life and the life experiences that you want to have. But there's belief over time when you're surrounded by people that are toxic, that make you feel like you can't have that, you know? And a lot of times we are born into covenants because our parents weren't taught properly. They did the best that they could with what they were taught. But if you don't have the information, well, they didn't know. We've come to a place within our evolution that we have to know, because there's spiritual war on consciousness happening right now. Again, that's when your environment is saying that you're not enough, you don't have enough money, you're not good enough. Again, and you look at your life and you're like, well, if the shoe fits, and God says, don't do my job, do your job. Be like childlike, become yourself. Spirit's saying it's like, otherwise you'll be in that karmic loop forever. And you don't want a karmic loop like that. So we always try and just look at your energy first, but sometimes people annoyingly peep through because they're obsessive. You know, if a person is obsessive, like a mother or father, a sister, brother, the lover, it's again, they're going to come into your reading. But Spirit's saying it's like magical space clearing time. Glamour, intrigue, drama, merciless forgiveness. That's a hard one. Unstructured, unlock DNA. Oof. Believe in the impossible. Inspire. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Freedom, wisdom, and show the world the real you. Wow, I like this. And I'm going to tell you why. It's like you're in a place where you're healing yourself, and you are healing yourself because you're working on yourself. You're showing up for yourself the best way that you know how. And you're starting to be like, you know what? Fuck this. It's like, it's your loss. And that's what happens over time when you're stuck in ruminating about a person. You either stay in pain or you have to channel that pain into purpose. There's no medium. You're not going to sit on the fence. It doesn't work that way because you get so mad. And then again, when we're mad all the time, but then the habits and behaviorisms are in alignment with that, where you'd want to go out all the time and meet different people and do. That's not, you're filling your own cup is what Spirit's saying. And so when you become yourself, there you inspire people. So understand other people are tending to notice this. Wow, You're consistent. Wow, you're passionate. Wow, you really are who you say that you are. You really are. So you're becoming more grounded. Amici, dry skin, sorry. Um, so it's this wisdom that you got. And this higher wisdom is because A, I don't want to really live the way that my parents lived. It's like, though I love them, it's like, they did the best that they could do, but I do know more. I am more evolved. It's like I'm not going to live from that level of consciousness. So the wisdom just comes from living a lot of bad experiences. However, I also feel like you're connected to someone that is like in a karmic loop. And part of your change is to like disconnect. Really, your mind can't be in two places at one time. So Spirit says that's how you unlock DNA. You unlock DNA from forgiveness. When you're born into ancestral karma, then you're born into family covenants. And family negative covenants are ones that bind through pain and suffering. So it could be there was money issues, there was, alcoholism, there was codependency, there was some fragmentation. And then when there's fragmentation, like I said, the people then are dependent, and then there's expectation. And so when there's expectation, obviously, the person could be the best person in the world. God says they're not going to be me. Only I'm perfect. They're not going to be perfect. The only way you get to experience perfect is by becoming yourself, not by seeing that or trying to become, somebody else. It's by acquiring it yourself, by changing yourself. That's when you break DNA. See, we inherit sickness and disease through our habits and our behaviorisms, not through blood. Ancestral is only 5% inherited. So if your dad had cancer, you have a 5% chance of inheriting it if you don't have their habits and their behaviorisms. The habits and behaviorisms are created from the core beliefs about oneself and what one can have and who one is. So when we're not coming from our true self, which is the higher self, which is a God part of self, we're never coming from a sense of strength, because only in the now do you get divine guidance. So we have a good connection to the body. So trauma creates up in the head worry, because one's depending on oneself, not, again, a connection to the higher self. And so, again, we lock on our DNA because of that, because we have faith and our actions are in alignment with that faith. And so, when you're on that path, God makes a way where there is no way just for you, but not if there's not forgiveness. The ancestral karma, because of the fragmentation, there is no forgiveness a lot of times. And it's not that your mother didn't try to forgive her mother or father, but to not learn to see from a different perception. They live from a perception of, you didn't love me, you weren't here for me, you were abusive. But you have to understand, our parents grew up during times of war, depression. They lived in an environment that collectively conditioned them, which made them come more from a survival perspective. They were not taught from a spiritual perspective. You are applying spiritual laws to your life. So you're able to forgive because you're able to say, like, they didn't know any better. They didn't know. And ignorance is the worst thing. And that's freedom for you. That's fucking freedom. Because the pain of not forgiving is what binds you. It binds you to a lower consciousness. And then you're attracting all that's in alignment with that. It blocks you. And so that's why over time we get resentful, because we're saying, well, I'm gonna look at my life. Well, where did it come from? Well, let's go back, brain. And the brain goes back and says, you know what? It was 1971. You were 1 year old in the high chair. That's when it happened. And you're like, well, what the fuck? And God says, You wanted a cookie and you didn't get the cookie. And it could be something as like simple perception, the child self. The child self doesn't know. We think that our parents are gods and goddesses until they prove us wrong. So that's usually like the first betrayal. And it's not a blame game, but we have to understand, how do we get so imbalanced? How are the roots so weak? And they're weak when there's no forgiveness. So when you look at your family and you're like, my brother hates my sister, like my, my parents don't talk to their siblings. That's, again, fragmentation. That is what attracts negative energy. Again, so that forgiveness. So when you change, so you have to say, how can you change? You have to, again, move into this higher state of consciousness. And that's where the end of a real tough cycle, is coming to an end. And that's why there's freedom, is what Spirit's saying. That's why I said, I love this, because this is being you, like stepping into your true self and not being seen through that karma, right? I mean, when people inherit that, where there's a lack of roots, that becomes their identity. And then, but instead, you're becoming your true self. And it's an unstructured process. Yes, it is, because it's intuitive. The path unfolds while you're on it. Mastery comes in doing. It's, again, we have to ground it. So, again, when we are healed, and that's by forgiving, it helps us ground. And that helps us become our true self, is what Spirit's saying. And that helps you attract so much better. So you're not even paying attention to anyone. And this is why you're coming across very glamorous, intriguing, and it's almost like creating like this drama. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because people remember the old self, and the old self might have been like, well, it was a horrible like time, like growing up with people that didn't love. Maybe you didn't feel loved. Maybe you didn't feel that you had that support. And really, what you're doing is you're cultivating that for yourself. And Spirit says it seems like a magical clearing time. And part of it is because as you evolve, you change your DNA. It seems like it's a magical thing. It's actually not. It's proven that you can actually heal your life. You just have to heal yourself spiritually, and the Spirit will do that for you. And it does that by, when you heal yourself, you don't want to be around certain people. You don't want to spend your time frivolously. You're able to, again, sense more, like, meaning, like, if you meet somebody, you can tell what their energy is. And it's about putting yourself first, regardless of who doesn't like it. And the problem is when people like, they don't forgive, they're so angry and they're so mad. So what happens is, the ironic thing is that they either wind up giving too much to other people, or they just frivolous their time. But it's the behaviorism, because it doesn't feel good to be angry, and it's not good to perceive yourself as your wounds, is what Spirit says, which is what makes people angry, because it's a disrespect to that higher self, that God part of self. So over time, you see it show up not just within your physical body, but within the relationship. So you might have, again, had a parent that had cancer. You might have had a parent that, again, was in a codependent relationship. This is where, how you know the fragmentation is there. You could have grown up where there was very little money, and you watched that struggle. And so, again, by you becoming yourself, you're breaking those karmic cycles, which is actually helping you upgrade your DNA. Why? Because, again, those cycles you're in survival mode. It suppresses the immune system, and spiritual issues affect the nervous system and the endocrine system, because our chakra system is intertwined with that. So that's why. And that's what activates the DNA, turning it on and off. And we're not people are not educated, and you may not have been as educated, but you're doing it. And being that you're doing it is wasn't more of an intuitive thing, like I don't know how I knew, I just knew that I was supposed to do that. And it's because you were listening to the higher self, where our parents, a lot of them didn't. They were doing what, they thought was right. And so Spirit's saying, when you're in this energy, know that you're going to be changing the dynamic of everything. Because again, you're upgrading, you're changing the environment. So anything that was attached to you, any person that perceived you a certain way, it's going to all change. That's why they say some people will want to inspire, like some people you'll it like trigger them to inspire, which came out, and other people will again get triggered. That didn't come out because when you're on a high vibration, you don't care and you don't notice it, right? Because you're having a good old time and life is working out. However, it's not that it's not there. So Spirit's saying, what is at stake? What are you healing? Spirit says soul contract. So we know we're seeing a past life karmic mate within your reading. We have not looked at your relationship yet. We know for a fact. So soul contract, alignment blockage, which by the way, if you are again in a soul contract, you are out of alignment with your true self, because that's codependence. And a soul contract is one that binds you to your inner child wounds, to trauma, because you haven't learned it. See, here it says shows up as reoccurring pattern. Oh, those glasses. Reoccurring patterns in relationships or challenges that feel just uncanny familiar. And they are, because again, we inherit them from ancestral karma because of the fragmentation. So again, soul agreements made before this life. These lessons often push you to face unresolved issues and grow in love, purpose, strength, and resilience. So again, growing up with parents that were in a soul contract, okay, and then inheriting that. So automatically out of alignment. So what's at stake? Oh, what's at stake? Shit. Being with someone that wants to control your ass. Someone that's, again, that won't let you have your autonomy. Someone that, again, is going to be like it's going to be triggered by it. Again, if you're in a high vibration and you're connected to a past life karmic mate that chooses not to do the healing, well, then understand it's all about them wanting to dominate because of their lack. And then they see you as something. And why would you attract that? Spirit says, because you don't know your worth. And so understand that control wound. So it shows up as like attracting people or situations that are rooted in fear, where you're not really allowed to be vulnerable and you really feel uncertain, and it's linked to past betrayal or abandonment, which, by the way, is what happens when there's fragmentation within a family. That's why there's so much anger and resentment. So Spirit says it leads to anxiety, perfectionism, and difficulty trusting, driven by desire to avoid pain through control, which is what you attract, a person that they're in a place of that, but you also are holding on to that because you're not your trauma. But if we're coming from that perspective, we are. And so because the controlling is like, I'm not safe within myself. I have to control the environment, which makes a person crazy, by the way, and makes a person extremely emotional. So because you can't control your environment. I mean, you can only control yourself. And that's again, and how do we do that? Through, again, being present, being in the moment, being in the now, being connected to that higher self, that God part of self. And so again, that's what gives us spiritual sovereignty. And so, and then we see agency wound, which shows up as difficulty making decisions or asserting needs rooted in past where autonomy was denied. So again, you grew up in that environment, and understand if your parents grew up like where they were in that type of a relationship, they weren't able to show up fully for you because emotionally they weren't dealing with a full tank of their own, right? Their tank was always like, a little bit half due to work, due to like, again, trying to hold like a marriage together, or dealing with their relationship, or dealing, so they weren't rooted in anything. And then coming from this, logical perspective, which is we keep up with the Joneses, we do what our government tells us, we do whatever the environment tells us, which, by the way, the environment wasn't very nice to a lot of people, just for the reckoning. I mean, so adopted certain belief systems, which, by the way, is also when you inherit um, not just ancestral karma, collective karma, but you're also inheriting whatever bloodshed on the land that you live on. So if you live on land that there was slavery or bloodshed, or like apartheid, or whatever it is, you get to inherit those karmic consequences. So when people say, "Oh, why do my life look the way that it does?" It's like, well, there's a whole lot of shit, spiritual shit, that you have not been privy to. Not that you don't understand how it works. And if you don't understand how it works, then over time you think, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with me." When it's really, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have not been told or educated. And that's the problem. And that's why the spiritual war on consciousness comes through the night. Spirit says, and the night is the subconscious mind. The warfare, spiritual warfare, is attack on your mind first. So what you see happening within our outer world is a reflection of that, including your relationship. Because again, over time, if you're in a relationship with someone like this, that wants to control you, that's on a lower vibration, that makes you question you, all so that they can control you, right? Then what winds up happening is you don't like your life, right? And if you don't like your life, you can stay angry, you stay resentful, and we know what creates that. What creates that is a miserable life of lack. And where Spirit's saying you're breaking the DNA, because what you're saying is, fuck that. I know that I have a higher self. I know that I can get what I want. I need to be consistent. I need to show up for myself. I need to believe it. And that's the difference. So because of this, which I feel like, hey, you learn from past experiences. Hey, no one's really given me anything. People who come into my life and they tend to take, which, by the way, that's a covenant thing too, where you're like, I tend to be the giver in all situations. I care about other people. I feel like people don't care about me. And Spirit says that's why you have to show up more for you. And so it's going to feel wrong. Healing doesn't feel good, because people will make you feel bad. Say, what are you doing? Because you're trying to focus on what you're trying to focus on. And to understand, it's a lot of times because they don't have anything to focus on except for their anger, or again, what happened, what did happen, what's going to happen. Keep you ruminating, and that rumination is not good at all. And so we have to look and see, what did this person do? Normally, I don't like to start this way, but I kind of feel like the reading calls for it. And then we're going to look at this person's hidden truth. Because what I see is, again, you're changing the whole fucking dynamic. You're changing it. It's like you're like, I don't like this story. I'm going to do something different. But we have to say, what was it like with this person? Well, they were dishonest and just unfair, and they did so by manipulating you and getting attention from other people, trying to deliberately get underneath your skin. They wanted you to fight for them, and they lied, and over time, you didn't really know who you were dating. You're like, or who I'm with. You're like, I just felt not safe. I felt like this is you, almost like you felt like they're cruel, they're mean, which, by the way, that's the energy that you grew up with. It's like, and that's because when there's a lot of anxiety, and then there's a lot of tension because you grew up in that environment, well, you're going to attract that type of energy, not because you're deserving of it, but because the Spirit says it's a trauma. So you have to go through that trauma. You can't avoid it. You can't go back in time. So I'm going to give you people and situations and experiences that replay the trauma. which means you have to deal with it differently. Remember, you didn't pass the test. Passing the test means that you embody the new consciousness. You become that new version of yourself. You show up for yourself and understand this person like kind of did it, because I feel like at one time you gave this person a lot of time and they thought, oh, you really have feelings for me, you know? And truth is that you had a hard time letting go of the past and the fears that are associated with it. So they can continue to manifest in chaos in your relationships, as I just said. And this person too is what Spirit's saying. So, and that's what happens when you have a trauma. And the trauma first was how you grew up. It was like you were just born into a family that wasn't taught. They weren't bad people. It's like they did the best that they could do with the information that they were taught, you know? And so, and what happens is you're not prepared for a lot of things that happen, right? So unless there's a strong foundation, these problems bring out more and more and more fragmentation because you didn't show up for me. I had to do everything by myself. It's like, and what you hear is again that fear, where Spirit says if you're grounded and you're in the moment, you don't really need anyone else because you're going to get that divine confidence. You're looking at that person where that person is just stuck and frozen. Sometimes they didn't react because they didn't know what to do. They're stuck and stupid. But you're like, how could you not show up for me? Like where Spirit's saying, it's like, are you showing up for yourself? No, they were supposed to show up. I wasn't supposed to show up for that. And Spirit says that you need to show up. It's like, and then understand that person will follow suit because you're commanding it. You're commanding it. You become strong in yourself. And so, this person is like, I hide behind material things. And the reason why is because they, I feel like they're embarrassed. People that hide behind material things are somebody that wants you to perceive that their life is good, right? That they're successful, that, when a person leads with that. And they also believe that they're not liked unless they have things. That's the belief. Like, I have to have things so that people perceive me a certain way because I don't really like who I am. So when a person's doing that, you already know. And so Spirit says they're afraid to contact you. And the reason why is because, hey, they're seeing the true you. You're like, look, you're like changing yourself. So it's like, I can't just come back. And I feel like it's because they didn't treat you well, right? So it's like, what am I going to say? You're not the same person. If anything, I feel like this person's actually embarrassed. I feel you even though we're apart. I'm so attracted to you. It's time for me to heal now. So, and I feel like it's because you're healing. And it's like, so we have to say, well, okay, why? How is this person healing? Why is this person healing? What's the whole point? Well, Spirit says, past life karmic mates, we tend to think, oh, you're negative. And Spirit says that it means learn. They didn't learn in the past lifetime. They're coming back into this lifetime. It's not like there's not love there. That's what it fucking looks like. Why does it look like that? And Spirit says, because of their trauma. Why do I get that? Because of your trauma. Spirit says, it has nothing to do with love. That's what it looks like. Well, why does it look like that? That's fucked up. I shouldn't get that type of love. God says, yeah, but that means you got to heal yourself. You're healing yourself. This person has no choice but to heal if they even want to talk to you. That's how strong your energy is. That's why I was like, oh, I like this energy in the beginning, because I'm like, you're commanding it. You're like, fuck you. I'm like, I'm not getting anything from this. And I'm pissed. And Spirit says, well, it's time to put that energy into something else. So we have to say, well, what's the deal with this person? I can't validate our love in the 3D until I understand our spiritual love in the 5D. Give me time to explore this aspect so I can be a stronger spiritual partner for you. Well, it's like that's never going to be happen, by the way, because they can will never be able to validate their love for you in the spiritual realm, because it's something that is not logical. It's not logical. It just is. But it terrifies this person. It terrifies this person because they're like, I clearly feel that there's something. I feel you, even though we're apart. That means something. But what does it mean? Are you a bad person? Are you going to come into my life and do something bad to me? And understand only a person that does bad things that way. So, we see what we look for. So it's like, it triggers this person like, well, then you'll have control over me, which, by the way, this person's a control freak, which that actually came out in your cards. Control as a wound. Like, oh, I don't want somebody controlling me. And spirit says, well, that's the energy when a person's in fear. So understand it's like that, it's that. They think that you're beautiful inside and out. Words have hurt them in the past. That's why they fear talking to you. And their hearts are connected. Like they feel that their heart is connected to you. But again, instead of them being all warm and fuzzy about it, it's like I feel this person is not fuzzy about it. I feel like it makes them feel uneasy. It makes them feel uneasy because, hey, that someone that's close is gonna, you know, want intimacy, and that's transparency. And if this person doesn't like who they are, which by the way, they don't like who they are because they're hiding behind their shit. They're pretending that they're their shit. Then you're gonna see too much. Then you can reject them and abandon them, which is, by the way, why they're emotionally void. I mean, or try to be emotionally void, but they're not. Is they're trying to logic the relationship. Like, what kind of relationship is this in the spiritual? What does it mean? Are you a witch? You're gonna do voodoo on me? Like, what does it mean? That means you have control then. Then you can hurt me. Like why would your mind even go there? That's because this person, the spirit says, so again, they're paranoid. And so when a person's paranoid, what do? They manipulate. And they want to manipulate because they want to be the one in control. That's why Spirit's saying. So this is them. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can come back and I can say something that I can't really say, because what are they going to say? They you already burnt that bridge, and you in high energy. You're like here. You're like in a place like, I don't care if you're talking to me or not. So again, they already holding the short end of the stick. It's like you're not. And so this is why they're paranoid and they're in a place of fear, because they're afraid, oh my God, you're going to like criticize them. Like this person normally, like if you say something to them, they'll go ghost. They're toxic. They'll be like, you'll get over it. I'll come back, when you cool down. Like it's your problem. That's the thing. You don't care. You don't care. And in that, it's like none of their little tricks are going to work, where because understand, they want the power back. At one time, you have feelings. At one time, you cared about this person, or so they really thought. It's almost like you were right here, you were right here, you were right here. And that's because at one time you gave them love unconditionally. Now this person is in a place of trauma and they don't really feel like you're going to forgive them, and if anything they're fearful that you're going to reject them, because again you are in the space of I don't care, and this pisses them off. Fine line between love and hate. See this? Because what you see is this person loves you and they want to come back, but it's like, no bitch, you're not going to be in control. You're not going to be in control. This pisses this person off because it's like it puts them into a place where they can't go put themselves in competition anymore with you. That's what they did, which is, by the way, what they grew up with. Parents that competed, did a tit for tat. You did this? Okay, then I'm going to do that. You do this, and what you see is no forgiveness. What you see is anger. What you see is resentment because expectations were not kept. So this person, of course, is like, knows that they did not like meet the standard, but they purposely did it. They purposely did it. That's why, that's why they're like pissed off, because it's like you're showing them a different version of yourself. And they're actually, like, I think, a little bit more pissed off at themselves, but they are pissed off at you too, because you just should know. We have this connection. You just should know. But it's like, oh no, you didn't give me no compassion. I'm not going to give you any compassion. And God says, don't do the tit for tat. Forgive, but put your energy somewhere else. I forgive you. Don't worry about it. Bye. I'm going to great adventure. And there may be the opposite sex there, or the same sex, depending. None of your fucking business. You did not earn that right, but you look great, and it was so good to see you. The Spirit says that'll piss them off even more. And understand, eventually they'll come to a place of surrender, like, well, I look stupid because I'm mad this person's having a good old time, and really I would like to be over there having a good old time too. And Spirit says you have to, again, understand that love, we can make a person surrender, but they have to go through that anger a lot of times. They have to work through that anger. Like, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm stupid. you know, put myself in competition for what? At the end of the day, I'm the one that's losing. It's trained behavior, the ego. And this person is sad because they're like, oh, I know you're going to like pass judgment on me. So what are they doing? Spirit says they're eating a lot, because they're suppressing their emotion. They don't know what to do. They're like, again, what story can they tell? And if they come back, they're not going to be the one that's in authority, because you're going to be like, oh, no, bitch, you did this. Remember what you did? Remember what you did? And the Spirit says, no, you're not going to do that. This is what they think you're going to do, but you're not going to do that. You know what you're going to do? You're going to do this. That's what you're going to do. You're going to put your energy into like yourself. Understand this person's weak. They're weak. And they're weak because they suffer with, again, addictions and just burdens. And those burdens are from, contracts, those which we just talked about, which are family and bullshit from what they've created in the past. Has nothing to do with you. They just need to be in control. But you wouldn't let Mr. Magoo drive the bus. Mr. Magoo is blind. You drive the bus right off the thing. And that's what this person is blind. They don't know. So you can't. So they have to build that trust. This person's afraid that they just don't belong. And that's really, at the end of the day, when a person has fragmentation, it's that they've cut themselves off from the higher self. That higher self is God part of self, which knows that we are made of unconditional love. But due to the environment that they have grown up in, and then every experience thereafter, they have created a shit show. And that's why, yes, there's a very strong spiritual connection, but this person's trying to logic it. Like, let me figure this out. It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like they're looking for a problem and they can't find one. That's what's happening. They're wasting a lot of time. They have a lot of anxiety because they know down deep inside what they have to do. They're going to pretend that they're blind. I don't know what to do. They know what to do. And Spirit says, that's why you need to keep evolving. Because eventually this person's going to come to a place of surrender. Doesn't mean that you have to be with them. It means that they need to, again, drop the ego. Because it's that's creating problems within their life. And they're going to learn from this connection one way or the other, Spirit says. Because whether you want to be with them or not, what they're going to learn is, I blew it. If you don't, and they're going to really feel the pain, and they're going to say, I did everything to avoid the pain, and I never felt pain like this before. That's number one. And Spirit says, because their heart's closed. So I have to break their heart in order for them to open their heart, because their heart is so closed due to growing up the way that they grew up. Now, if you attract that person, it's too, Spirit's saying, it's that your heart's closed too. But when you're giving and receiving of love by creating yourself, you're actually opening up your heart. It's a much more pleasant way to open up your heart than this person, and that's really what Spirit's saying. Spirit's like, well, it doesn't really matter whether you're going to be with them or not. It's like they're reliving their hell, though they're in a karmic loop, which is what creates that resentment even more, because you're just like, motherfucker, this keeps happening. Like, I'm a loser. That's what this person's going to feel like, because at the end of the day, that, well, why did you do all that? Like, again, that they're stupid. They're already seeing that it's stupid. It's like, at the end of the day, I'm the one that's hurting myself because you don't even care, like, and that's the thing. You don't care. And you might be like, I care, but I refuse to show you that. I refuse. And this person knows it. So it's like that also, you're sending a message of, well, I'll meet somebody else. I'll meet somebody else. I don't care. And so Spirit's saying, it's like they're in a place of, like, trying to heal is what I see, trying to figure out the relationship. Do they ever figure it out? Spirit says the karmic meets are slow because of the ego. It's like the fear. Well, right now they're just trying to protect themselves, you know. So they almost have like this shield up of, like, I don't want you to see anything. They're still in this place of fear. Eventually they do break free, and it's because, again, there's this connection, but they're also rebellious. Nothing is going to keep them stuck in the same place, which trauma will do that. It's just sometimes life looks more like worse, and this person is just gonna, try and look at things from a different perspective, I would say, because they get tired of it. And will they ever do anything? And the Spirit's saying, it's like, eventually they will want to, they'll want to, like, get into a relationship, maybe not with you, but in a relationship, but they will still have this ESP connection to the past. It's, again, in Spirit saying, it's like there's still this inner knowing that, you were someone, you know what I mean? And unless they come back and apologize and are different, then the relationship is over. So this person still will have a connection to you. It doesn't really show whether they'll do anything about it. And the reason why is because it's, again, they're too afraid. They don't want to, like, deal with, like, being criticized. They don't want to deal with the rejection. They actually feel like they ruined the relationship to the point that, yes, they would love to come back. They have feelings for you, but how can I come back? Because you are in such a high vibration and your life is moving forward, that they're more concerned about the rejection, because the rejection then will be real. Where right now, if you don't talk, it's kind of like it's just left in limbo, if that makes sense. And so they can lie to themselves and say, well, maybe at one time we can rekindle this, or maybe one day, where I don't think that that's what will happen. I think after the long period of time that this person doesn't talk to you, the resentment just becomes less. And what you're seeing is, wow, you're really a weak person. And I would have never been happy with you because you were not able to really step it up for me. And that's really what Spirit's saying. It's like, you showed this person. So are they affected? Absolutely. Are they affected? But they're, again, still in their ego and still don't want to do that, because, like I said, the consequences of you rejecting them, oh, they wouldn't, now they don't have to say that, is what Spirit's saying. So, well, that's a shame. That's a shame. But Spirit's saying, it's a shame, but it's better that you wind up knowing before. So we have to say, well, why would you attract a person like this into your life? We want to know why. see why. And so we always look at the inner child wounds first. I pulled 7. All right. So Spirit's saying, you got time and attention. You got unworthy. You got anger, rage, trauma, belittled, and laughter. You know, when children grow up in an environment with a parent that's so angry, like, and they project that anger, which, by the way, is not uncommon if you grew up in a covenant, you know, a negative covenant where there was a lot of fragmentation, like your parents had trauma that was just unhealed. They were not taught how to spiritually heal, so they kept reliving the same experience over and over and over again. And as we said, what happens with that is when it's not channeled out, there's a lot of, like, again, like screaming at one another, or one person is doing a lot of screaming and the other person's kind of checked out. So you have this energy, like one person doesn't care and the other person cares, like, almost so much. But they're so fucking angry because they feel like they're the one that's doing everything in the relationship. They're the ones that are holding it together because the other person's checked out. Doesn't really seem like they care because they're emotionally not available because they need healing. So Spirit's saying, so the parent's so angry. And so the way that they talk to you or their children, just in general, they don't have time, they don't have patience, they're emotionally not getting what they need. And so they're coming across kind of like really abrupt, making you feel like that there's something wrong with you. Because when you have a parent that's like belittling you, like they're in a bad mood, and then you're like, Mom, can I go out? And they say, well, what did you get on that math test? Yeah, I bet you got an F, huh? Oh, you didn't go. What the fuck's wrong with you? You know, because the person's so angry, they just want to pick a fight, and they want to pick a fight with someone that they want to make angry. They want to make mad because the other person, it doesn't give a shit. So, you know, they can scream at that person all day long and they don't care because the person's checked out. They're either drunk, high, thinking about somebody else, just checked out. And so understand, so that parent is channeling all that frustration onto that child. And that's creating a lot of trauma because now you're saying, oh, I got one parent here that is like crazy, and I have another parent here that is checked out. So there is absolutely no support. There is no anchor. There is no, support because there's no time and attention that's given. And the time and attention that is given, well, I'm being made to feel like I'm a piece of crap, is what the child is feeling. So Spirit's saying again, so over time they just feel unworthy. They feel like I'm like I shouldn't be here because of that parent's trauma. So there's a lack of laughter. There's a lack of, like, children laugh at everything. They're jolly, that because they see the world as pure. They see everything innocent. But when the child grows up with a parent that's angry all the time at such a young age and is talking to them like they're a piece of crap at the age of 1, 2, 3, 4, they're being conditioned. I mean, up until 7 years old, a person like knows who they are by the time that they're 7. So if that parent is not emotionally there and they're just angry all the time, then that child feels like again, I'm not worthy. So they want to become invisible because, hey, when they're visible, they're getting crap. So Spirit saying, so that was pretty much the environment, which is why you're connected to a person that emotionally is not there. They're emotionally not mature enough to deal with you because you're on such a high vibration, because look where you came from. It's like, and you're able to dig yourself out of the trauma. You're able to become yourself. You said, I'm not my trauma. And so the Spirit says, then you integrate the spiritual lesson, and you integrate it by alchemizing it. And that's first and foremost, realize that this connection was just a stepping stone. That's all that it was. It's like, and that, each small step brings you closer to overcoming your fears. And like I said, like when we go through experiences that are traumatic, we get confronted with the same experiences. So a lot of times if you don't forgive, like again, your parents for the fact that they weren't there, you wind up in the same type of relationship where God's saying, well, this is why they didn't learn. And this is how we see that you did not do that. So you're upgraded your DNA, which means I'm not going to be with someone that makes me angry all the time. I'm not going to be with someone that emotionally can't show up for me. And the Spirit says that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. That's a fucking huge deal because you just alchemized that energy. You just said, oh, you know what? I'm not going to give passion to you. You're not worth it. But I'm going to channel my energy into my other passions. And that's the fuel for positive change, Spirit says. Now go into the unknown. Open your heart to what's new because you're not your trauma. And there's still that experience. Find yourself, have a love affair with yourself, invest in yourself. It's not that fragmented people won't come to you. They go to everybody. The difference is you won't have time for them. And you'll notice that they won't, and they won't be worth your time. And Spirit says, so again, it's a call for exploration for yourself. Spirit saying for you, not for a relationship, so that you can envision brighter horizons and see your own genius, see your own worth. Like be like, oh well, you still know that you are, but if you until you embody these new experiences where you're like, well, I can have it because I actually did it. I'm strong within myself. I know what I want. I know what I'm capable of. Spirit says when you go into the unknown, that's what you'll find. So it's a big deal. It's like, and if you were belittled and, you know, then you didn't live your true life because understand the energy that you were brought up in. That was that. It was more like everyday survival and survival because who knows whether this parent's going to be mad or whether they're not going to be mad, whether or not, again, the unstable, the instability of growing up with no roots, again, which is that consistent support. The attachment style is weak. And so when that is, we have to reparent ourselves and we need to do it for ourselves, is what Spirit's saying. And that's what you're doing. That's why you're upgrading your DNA. That's why you're like, oh, I'm not gonna like be with someone that can't show up for me. It's like you have feelings for me, but that's not enough. It's like you have feelings for me, but you can't. So what? I want to see it. You need to do it. And Spirit says it's about you seeing, like, again, that positive action, but what it is that you're taking positive action. It's like, since you can't take the positive action towards me, I'm going to take it. And you focus on the beauty inside yourself and you find silence, that you live and honor the present by doing what you can do now, and what you cannot change, you let go and you trust in God. And that's what you're doing. And this person never thought that that would. And boy, is that hurtful. Because, hey, it would have been better if you would have cursed them out. It would have been better. It's like, and that's not. It's like, no, instead you chose to believe. You chose to believe in yourself and the beauty in life and the goodness of God, and that you have the power to fulfill your own dreams. The will of the Almighty supports you, and that your life is showered in divine light and your heart opens to the power of the universe. And Spirit says, a lot of times we don't get that twin flame person or that perfect person when we're manifesting. But what you chose was freedom. And that's a beautiful thing because now you can attract everything that you want within your life. I'm going to leave that there. Let me know how you resonated. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. That's today's daily dose. All right. Bye-bye.